welcome to Crackin Crime. I'm your host, Jamie Tilson.
I'm your co-host, Seth Tilson, and it is 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm already drinking Crown Peach.
And who else we got?
I'm here.
Who's I'm?
Me.
That's all you need to know, people.
It's Jacob and Tilson.
Jacob Tilson. I got two.
He's also French.
Or as my friends would call me, Tilly.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. I can't wait for Connor to be in high school with me. It's going to be so weird having two Tilsons in one school.
True.
Especially since everybody uses my last name, Tilson. So it's going to be really weird.
I can see that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Been a couple of weeks since we've done an episode. Just been busy.
Mm-hmm.
Might be that kind of time that, I don't know, time of the year that we're going to start doing like every other week. Try to do as much as we can. We need to do some stuff for Patreon, so that's going to be coming up.
Well, not if I have surgery again. We could do it fucking every day if you want. I'm just going to be bored at home for 4 to 6 weeks. Just pop a bunch of shit out then. Just give him the shit.
That's Seth for you.
That's Seth.
Get surgery and then just
That's
stops
Quagmire.
doing so. Who else but Quagmire? He's Quagmire.
Focus. We go to podcast.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I remember the actual song, but I just can't remember most of the stuff about it.
Oh, right. I don't even know what you're talking about.
The Who Else But Quagmire song.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It's an actual thing.
It is.
All right, let's get back on track a little bit. Like everybody, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning
Testicles. Testicles 1, 2. That's his thing
1,
working.
2.
Okay. All right, and go.
Then go. All right. So check us out. All of our social media platforms: Facebook, the Twitter,
Twitter.
TikTok. We've been making little stuff there. Been throwing out some little videos. Follow me, Jamie Tilson. Got Seth Tilson over there. Everything else is at Crackin Crime. Go check us out. All the social media accounts. If you are a Patreon, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Really helps to, get us some better chairs in this studio because Seth squeaks all the time. Mm-hmm. It's literally just a fold-up chair.
A lawn chair.
Yeah.
Still.
You can use my chair.
Huh? No, it's too small for him.
No, I don't like
it's
that one.
absolutely just fine, but he doesn't like it.
Yeah,
so he prefers to sit in the freaking fold-out chair that squeaks.
Disc in my neck, thank you. Okay. Hurts my arm really bad to sit for a while in a certain place.
Right, I've got a really comfortable chair over here, so I don't.
Yeah.
It's old.
And no spine diseases or bad discs or nothing, but it's fine. You take that chair.
Right, no, that's okay.
You earned it.
Yeah, it's my studio, so.
Not for long.
Oh, Jacob's going to take my studio. Is that what you're trying to get at?
Yeah. This
is your old bedroom. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's why there's Spider-Man on the door over there. Yeah.
Written with IDK on.
Yeah, I don't know. That was you.
That was Haley.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
All right. We got to keep on track. Got to keep on focusing. All right. I'm excited about this one. We are not going to get political. I'm saying this to all of my people. But today we are covering... What's that?
I said I might.
We are covering some U.S. presidents. And just kind of some crazy crime through history in the White House. That's kind of what I was looking at.
All right.
So... there definitely are some really crazy stories that come out of there.
Are we covering when the White House was burned down?
Ooh, at a different time. But that is a great story. I do like that. It's very interesting.
Attaboy. That's a good idea. I like that.
Yeah. I actually really like it that the White...
I thought Independence Day was the only time that ever happened.
No, it's... Independence Day.
It's real live footage. They actually did that for that movie.
Yeah. Right. Did you know that the White House has actually been remodeled inside a few different times? Like the only thing that is, well, it's not even original anymore. Nothing's original anymore, but because it completely burnt down. So then they rebuilt it. But now when they remodel it, the outside shell stays looking the same, but they go all the way down to the studs. There's some pictures that I've seen where nothing. It's just completely empty inside, and the outside shell's still standing. So they completely rebuilt all the floors, everything inside of it. It's just like unreal.
Yeah, there's so much secret stuff in there too, and all kinds of
Dude.
passageways and everything. And
all of the wings that have been added onto it, like it just originally started out, and then there didn't used to be a lot. Actually, one of the stories that we're going to talk about is there didn't used to actually have to be gates around it, right? So it was just the big White House lawn. People could walk right up, but Mr. President, I got to talk about this now. You know what I mean? Like we really need to work on this. But it's crazy the way that
Mr. President, I found this gun on the lawn.
Well, that is one of the stories we're going to talk about. That one of the presidents liked to duel people. Yeah.
With Alan Jackson?
Yeah.
10 paces in
Alan
turn.
Jackson?
Alan Jackson?
That's a country
that
musician.
was right before the Chattahoochee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the presidents still?
Andrew Jackson.
Andrew, that's what it was.
Yeah. President Andrew Jackson. And yes, you were right. I know. I had to give you a little bit of a hard time, but yes. Yeah, Andrew Jackson is the president that we're going to chat about because he was probably our craziest president. Yeah.
$100 bill guy?
$100 bill guy.
All right, that's what I know him as.
That's what you know him as?
Yeah,
he did a lot of crazy stuff
He's
as
important
president.
somewhere back in history. I actually loved history. I just never got into presidents.
Really? Oh, yeah. See, I was just thinking about it this week.
So I know more than Seth.
Well, that
About presidents,
doesn't
probably.
take much. But no, I started thinking about it today. We had our buddy Brandon Williams went to D.C. So then he was asking him some places. So then it just...
Didn't you also go to DC?
I have been to D.C. And honestly, it was probably my favorite trip of all time. I'm not joking. All the traveling I've done, all the trips and places I've gone, I mean, it's...
Yeah, and then you said we were going to take a trip to Florida. So then you said I couldn't go.
Right. I think you'll appreciate it more now.
Was it Manhattan that you said at the time?
We were going to go to Manhattan, but then COVID hit. Yep. Yeah. So instead of you going to D.C. on that D.C. trip, we were going to take a family trip to Manhattan, Kansas. And then we just couldn't go. It just got, COVID really shut everything down. And it was
Manhattan, New York.
New York. I knew that I was wrong on the state, and I couldn't remember. Yeah. No, so we were going to go to New York.
Right.
Manhattan. Downtown. Yeah, with the island.
Manhattan's not a state, is it?
No,
New York is.
Yeah.
New York
I was getting
is the
so
state.
confused for a second there.
I said Manhattan, Kansas, because that's only.
Well, I knew that.
An
I knew
hour.
that was fucked up. The way you were wording it, I was getting confused.
Right.
I was like, son of a bitch, has Manhattan been a state this whole time? I had no idea.
No, yeah. Well, that wouldn't surprise me.
I doubt myself too much. What do you mean it wouldn't surprise you?
A lot of things don't surprise me that you say and do. No, but honestly, I was excited about DC when we went, but I wasn't overly excited. I was just like, oh yeah, it'd be fun to go. And then it was just done so well. The company, it's like World Strides, I think that we did it through. It's just jam-packed. But you land, they pick you up, and it's just like, boom, Capitol building. Amazing. Then we go over, just everything that you see. Standing in front of the White House is just amazing. It's just really cool to get to see it. I don't know, everything. There's so much to do there. The different buildings that we've gone to, like the National Library. That's where the Declaration of Independence is at and all that stuff. And to go actually through all the security, go back in there and then actually see the original documents is just amazing. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Then to find out... You're going to be all... I know. There you go. Give me my drink. Give me my lid. There you go. I'm going to move my drink so you don't have to... Completely.
Yep.
So, FDR...
And then I just...
You know FDR?
Yeah.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Sure.
You know FDR? He's the only president that has done more than 2 terms. Okay? He actually died in office, and I believe in his 4th term. Yeah.
Yes,
This was all during World War II. Yeah. Probably one of the greatest presidents in our history. Just absolutely amazing. He did not want one of the big like memorials to him. So you had like the huge Washington monument, which is just humongous. And then you have the Lincoln Monument, which is just so cool, right? And you just have all these amazing monuments in D.C. And FDR didn't want nothing. So right outside, I believe it's outside of the National Library, there's just this, it's the size of this desk. And it's just a rectangle box, sits in the grass. And that's the FDR monument. Yeah. And that's all he
It
wanted.
just makes him that much more.
And that's what he said. He said, I don't want one of these huge monstrosities for me. And then he made the comment something like, if you're going to do something for me, make it the size of this desk. So then that's kind of what they did. So it was really neat. It's and dude, going on the bus and then having the people, they told me so much stuff, and I try to piece some of it back together, but they told us so many stories.
Hey, Dad, so why are you wearing the beanie?
Because I was already wearing it. I'm in a story. So when they were telling us and they were walking us through, and we pull up to this place, and then you had your guides, and they're giving you so much information. It's just almost too much to take in, you know. But that little piece sticks with you, and it's just unreal. Now, since they have actually built a big like monument to FDR, and it's really cool, right? Because then they decided like, well, we understand that that's all he wanted, and that's what he got. But now we want to honor him, so now they've built a bigger one, and it's really neat. But and then just a bunch of stuff that I didn't really know, like Arlington Cemetery, right? Arlington Cemetery is absolutely amazing. It's so crazy to walk through there, you know. And then you get up to Arlington House, and it is this big building, right? It was under construction when we were there because they were fixing some things, but we didn't get to go inside. So then, when you go up to Arlington House and you start looking, there's some really old gravestones around Arlington House. Well, it turns out that is, he was the general for the South, General Lee, Robert E. Lee.
Oh, yeah.
So Robert E. Lee owned this house. Arlington House is Robert E. Lee's house. And when Abraham Lincoln gets elected president and the South rises up, right, there's multiple reasons as to why, but this is what happens. Robert E. Lee lived in...
the southern state, wasn't it?
No. He moves. Yeah. And I believe I believe Arlington is actually in Virginia, but it overlooks Washington, D.C. So when you're standing where President Kennedy's grave, President Kennedy's cave is actually really grave. I'm saying cave. JFK, his gravesite has a one of the flames, the eternal flame. So it never goes out. The eternal flame just sits there and burns on his grave at all times. And when you stand there, it overlooks. You can see the Pentagon, Washington Monument, Capitol Building. It's all right through the trees. It is just the coolest view. And you're just down from Arlington House, which was Robert E. Lee's house. So Robert E. Lee's house sits up on top of the hill.
You're going to have to do a picture of this, you know.
Well, dude, it's just amazing. You can look up pictures on Google. But nothing's cooler. So anyways, when we're standing there,
search again.
When we're standing there, and you see all these really old grave sites around Arlington House, that's when you get told the story that when Robert E. Lee fled, they considered him a traitor. And so he went down and he became a general for the South, for the Confederacy, riding against the North or the Yankees, right? So then after the battles would happen, they considered him a traitor, so they would bring people back and they would bury him in his yard as this is what's happening. And eventually it became the National Cemetery. Absolutely unreal, right? So these are just things that I didn't know. I knew Arlington was the National Cemetery, and I knew how awesome it was. And the tomb of the unknown soldier, it's for all of the soldiers that never returned from battle. And it is stationed. The guys that guard the tomb of the unknown soldier, they change when they change the guard, but you have to watch it. I mean, it's one of those things in life you have to go watch. It is so neat the way that they do it. They even in thunderstorms and even in hurricanes, they guard that tomb. They refused, and it's, if you disrespect it when it's happening, when they're doing the changing of the colors, yeah, it won't go well for you, right? So the way that they come down is so professional. Then the way that they change, but they stand out there and they walk back and forth and they march all day. And then they change out, and then it's a new guard, and then they stand out there, and then they come out. But the changing of the guard is really impressive. Anyways, if you haven't never gone to D.C. and you've thought about going to D.C., Arlington was my favorite spot, hands down. I mean, it was just so interesting to see, and all of the history, and all of these people that have died for our freedoms and for our country. It's just amazing. It's a very powerful place to be. Unbelievable. So, anyway, that's what we're talking about today, though. We're kind of talking about the Confederates, and we're talking about the North, and so we're talking about Abraham Lincoln. That's one of the stories we're going to talk about, because he was assassinated. I don't know if you've known this, but he was assassinated, and that is one of the stories we're going to tell. And then we've got some other stories about Washington, D.C., and stuff like that. But Abraham Lincoln, we're going to do some facts. Anybody know some facts? You want to talk some facts?
He looked like he aged a lot more than he actually did. It was like 4 years. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because it was a big time.
Yeah.
Stress.
And he also lost his son during his years as president. So they thought that he wasn't going to be good or anything, but he still didn't let that get to him.
Very good. Very interesting piece of trivia.
Okay.
Seth is Googling stuff over there, so he seems like he knows things.
Let's see it. Come on. Let's hear something from you.
Hold on 1 second. We've almost got it here. We've almost got it.
Which president was he? What number?
Who? Lincoln? 16.
Very good.
I thought it was 15.
You thought it was 15? You, son, were wrong. Seth got that one.
Well, he also has Google right next to it.
When I was looking through books there, and I already had a pretty good hunch, but I figured I'd just look up the Google page just to make sure of it. But so when the guy shot Lincoln, I think Wyatt Earp was like a half a mile out. He'd been riding for days. He knew it was going to happen. He was going to go stop it. He was going, and he was that's his biggest regret. All right?
That is what made
For
Wyatt Earp
years after
famous.
that, every time he killed somebody, he was like, "Fucking goddamn Lincoln." Could have saved him. He's still out there riding a motorcycle now because
Yes,
horses.
instead of a
Horses
horse.
don't exist anymore.
You haven't said sorry, Grandma.
Horses do still exist.
No, they don't.
You haven't said sorry, Grandma, yet.
He's got a nice chopper that was... It's getting a little bit old, a little bit outdated. It was built by Orange County Choppers. It's got a little Western theme to it. He can carry his 6-shooters.
It doesn't start with a button either. You got to kick it in the back and say "giddy up."
Right.
It starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way. It's voice activated. Only his voice. Giddy up. Yeah.
Giddy up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, this wouldn't be
that got
far
away.
off from that time. I mean, Wyatt Earp was alive.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, just throwing that out there. Anywho, let's go back to it.
Wasn't he
So-
shot in the back of the head?
Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln was shot just behind the ear. Yep. So actually, it's kind of interesting. So the war is over. The North won. Okay? Just wasn't sure if you guys were aware of that. So it's April 1865.
Oh, yeah, and then he jumps down, and then he breaks his leg, but everybody thinks that it's just a part of the show.
Right, because in the day,
He was a great actor.
he was a great, well-known actor. So then, he would be like, think of a famous actor from today. So you think
The Rock.
The Rock. Okay, so so James Wilkes Booth played by The Rock. Okay, Dwayne Johnson. And this is how famous he is at the time. So when he walks up to the guards that are not allowing anybody back to get to the president, right? They're like, oh my God, it's Dwayne Johnson. right? So then Dwayne Johnson is able to just be like, they're just like, yeah, go on in, dude. I mean, Lincoln's going to love to see you. So then in walks Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and he puts the gun up to his head, and he just shoots the president while the president is watching the show. I've actually been to Ford Theater. That's another part of the... It's changed a little bit now, right? You can see, if you go out back in the alley, you can see where the windows and stuff used to be, but it's somewhat similar inside still.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, he went onto a horse or something, and they were trying to get the news out fast so he couldn't escape town, but he got past them because the person on the bridge or something didn't hear it just yet.
Well, it's Dwayne Johnson. I mean, so you know.
So we're keeping him Dwayne Johnson.
Well, it was The Rock.
If Dwayne Johnson was there, he wouldn't have used the gun. He probably just would have picked him up.
Right. Well, is that not what happened? I'm thinking now that no. Okay, we'll go serious. This is a very, very historical part. Okay, so
yeah, we're just making fun of the president's death.
No, I'm not making fun of anything at all. No,
it's making Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson sound like this bad guy, killing his president.
That's not what actually happened. But we're giving people the significance of how popular John Wilkes Booth was at the time, because he was a very popular actor.
Ryan Reynolds.
So right, like a Ryan Reynolds. So he shoots the president, and then he jumps off of the balcony and lands on the stage. Breaks his leg or his ankle when he lands, and the crowd goes crazy. Start cheering. They can't even believe. They're like, "Oh my goodness, James Wilkes Booth! He just jumped onto the stage. This is amazing."
I thought his name was John.
What's that?
Not James.
Oh, did I say James? Sorry, John Wilkes Booth. So all of a sudden now Booth is on the stage, this broken leg, and they all think it's just part of the act. It's part of the, play. Yeah, and then he runs out, jumps on a horse, steals it, and then he takes off.
Yeah.
They then take President Lincoln, because so now we don't know everything from there. That is all the stuff we know.
Then doesn't he gets taken across the street?
He does get taken across the street, and he lives for just a little bit, right? So they take him out of the theater. They take him to the house right across the street. That house is still there. And then I can't remember if he dies on the stoop outside or if they actually got him into a room. I kind of think they got him into a room on the inside of the house. But that's what it was, because we got to go stand up on the stoop at that house. And it was just very interesting. Anyways, it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah, and then there was a manhunt for him.
There was.
And it was like a week long, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then he gets cornered a bunch of times. If I'm not
right. Wasn't that in a
barn?
In a barn.
Yeah.
Yep. And then they kill him, right? It
Yeah.
was a standoff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it says Lincoln was born in February 12th of 1809. So we're like stepping up to his birthday. In a one-room log cabin in Hardin County, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Then they moved to southern Indiana in 1816, where he goes to some formal schooling, becomes a lawyer, and then he becomes president, all that stuff. We're not going to go into like all of the history of everything, but so the main thing we're talking about with the crime.
Dead, but we're not going to explain his life.
Well, I mean, we could, but I've got other things we're going to talk about. Okay. So we like to jump around things, and so we're trying to keep it a little bit light.
So we're going to go back farther into the past to Andrew Jackson.
Go forward.
Kind of. Yeah, that is kind of
what
what
did you say?
I didn't hear what you said.
I don't remember what I said either.
Just if you guys heard it, just there you go.
Yeah, let us know. Comment. Otherwise, we'll never remember.
So yeah, no, it's a crazy deal. I do know that after his death, they actually loaded him into a wagon, and they displayed Lincoln's body all throughout the United States.
Yeah, and then they just, and if I remember correctly, you told me where it was. Well,
yes.
When we drove by.
Right. So Highway 30 through Kearney is the Lincoln Presidential Byway. So that's actually part of the route that they traveled Lincoln's body right down Highway 30, which is Highway 30 today. So I don't know other states. This is in Nebraska, going through Kearney, Nebraska. Highway 30. That was part of the presidential. Oh, I can't even say it now.
Lincoln,
It's the Lincoln bypass or byway, and it says that there's little signs marking it out there. People don't pay attention because they don't read all of our historical markers that are all through everywhere out here, right?
Yeah.
But this is part of it, right? And then that's on the north side of the river. So on the south side of the river, that is the Lois and Clark path. So the Lois and Clark came through on the south side of the river.
Isn't the Oregon Trail through here
That's
too?
the
somewhere?
Oregon Trail. That's River Road up in northern part of our county here. But then, that's on the south side of the river is the Oregon Trail. Yep. North side of the river is the Lincoln Byway, and then the south side of the river is the Oregon Trail. So they actually come out with wagons and all that stuff every once in a while. I think it's almost yearly they come out, but they'll take wagons then down River Road. Yeah, because that's the old Oregon Trail.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Yes, it is. It really is.
Are you trying to tell me to move on?
Yeah.
Okay.
we've been lingering on this for a while.
It's because that's the stuff that gets me more than anything is all of the real. Like, I love standing in a spot where historical things took
You
place.
said we're talking about Alan Jackson today.
We are talking about Alan Jackson next. So basically, quit. You already drank half of my juice. Gee, many Christmas. Yeah, you could prepare your own stuff. And then you're getting cough every time you take a drink of my drink. Okay.
Okay.
So we got some ghost stories. Want to hear some ghost stories?
Oh yeah.
From the White House. The White House.
Wasn't there a president that died in the bathtub?
Oh, there could be. Yeah, I think I have heard that. I don't remember which president.
He was a big guy and then he just died in the bathtub.
I wonder if that was FDR. Seth has got Google out. 1862 to 1863.
Taft.
Mary. What?
Taft.
Taft.
William Taft is
William
the one that died in the
Taft.
bathtub.
There you go. He did some other stuff.
Yeah, he made Laffy Taffy.
No, he didn't.
I like to think that he did.
I don't think he did. All right, so in
He might have been named
1862,
after him,
1863, Mary Todd Lincoln, grieving over her son Willie's death in February, that's President Lincoln, right? Began to participate in spirit circles or seances in the Red Room at the White House and the presidential cottage at the Soldiers' Home. Spiritualism was wildly popular during the height of the Civil War as families sought comfort for the loss of loved ones. So apparently that was happening. And this is actually from the White House website. Some ghost stories from there. 1901 to 1904, Jeremiah Jerry Smith started working at the White House during the Ulysses S. Grant administration in the late 1860s as a footman and served as a footman, butler, cook, doorman, and official duster until his retirement approximately 35
He's just
years
doing
later.
8 jobs at once. He's like dusting with one hand,
Right.
then cooking with the other.
I don't know what the official I'd rather be the official duster than the unofficial duster. Like I dust, but it's not the official duster.
Yeah.
So
I don't get paid per se.
A popular character and storyteller, reporters could always count on Smith on a slow news day, as opposed to today where they just make stuff up. He claimed to have seen. Well, yeah, except I don't never consider any of my stuff facts like they do. He claimed to have seen the ghosts of Lincoln, Grant, McKinley, and several first ladies.
Just seen women go by him. It's random.
Yes.
Wouldn't be a
1911.
bad time.
What?
Wouldn't be a bad time.
One little known spirit is identified. 15-year-old boy called the Thing that greatly frightened the Taft domestic staff in 1911. President Taft's military aide, Major Archibald Butt, wrote to his sister Clara, the ghost, it seems, is a young boy.
Archibald Butt. Major A. Butt.
It is Major A. Butt. B-U-T-T. He wrote to his sister, the ghost, it seems, is a young boy about 14 or 15 years old, They say that the first knowledge one has of the presence of the thing is a slight pressure on the shoulder, as if someone were leaning over your shoulder to see what you might be doing. President Taft ordered Butt to tell the White House staff that the first member to repeat stories about the thing would be fired. So they weren't allowed to tell their stories. Except he did. He shared it. Ooh. It says ghost lore. Abraham Lincoln appears in the Lincoln bedroom and Yellow Oval Room. First Lady Grace Coolidge, Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Queen Wilhelmina of the Netherlands all claim to have seen Lincoln. I mean, holy crap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Dude, Winston Churchill saw him. That's, I mean, I would believe that.
Yeah.
Willie Lincoln, who died in the White House, I'm guessing that's his boy, right? That was President Lincoln's boy. Was seen in the White House by staff members of the Grant administration in the 1870s. Andrew Jackson, supposedly laying in his bed in the Queen's bedroom, the Rose Room, lets out a guttural laugh that has been heard by the White House staff since the 1860s. Mary Todd Lincoln claimed to have heard Jackson stomping and swearing around the courthouse. White House, sorry. Apparently...
You just visit that courthouse too often.
Apparently Thomas Jefferson plays his violin in the Yellow Oval Room. Dolly Madison protects the Rose Garden. John Tyler haunts the Blue Room, proposing to Julia Gardner. That was his second wife. William Henry Harrison haunts the attic. He's not allowed to come down from the attic. Yeah, the other ghosts have everything else kind of locked down. So they're like, upstairs only, sir. So, yeah, like, who are you? William Henry Harrison? No. Thomas Jefferson. And that over there, yeah, Abraham Lincoln, that's Lincoln's wife. Go upstairs, right? Abigail Adams hung laundry in the East Room. And contemporary staff can smell wet laundry and the scent of lavender. Ooh, an unnamed British soldier who perished during the War of 1812 roams the White House grounds holding a torch. Guessing that's one of the guys that burned down the original White House in 1812. David Burns owned the land on which the White House now stands. He hangs out around the White House, so he gets to hang out there for some reason. Anna Surratt bangs on the doors of the White House, pleading to see President Andrew Johnson. She was there to beg for a pardon for her mother. Ooh. Lincoln assassination conspirator Mary Surratt.
Father,
So
just
she
press
must
on
have
it. Press. Just,
Okay.
yeah, I hung it up for you.
Thank you. Anyway, those were interesting. Nobody else seemed to be that interested by it, but you know what? I was interested. Did you know that President Jackson was one of our craziest presidents?
Yes.
Yes. Why, yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Says
I
that
did.
he had killed a man in a duel.
He killed
Apparently,
several.
They called him Old Hickory. That was his
Yeah.
nickname. Old
Yeah.
Hickory. He participated in anywhere from 5 to 100 duels. A few of them aren't documented, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a jump. 500,
That's a big
3,
ass jump.
2, right? No, so 5 to 100. Apparently, a man named Charles Dickinson called Jackson a worthless scoundrel, a poltroon, and a coward in a local newspaper in 1806. So the future president challenged that accuser to a duel. Yeah, and at the command, Dickinson fired and hit Jackson in the chest. The bullet missed Jackson's heart by barely more than an inch.
As he survived.
In spite of the serious wound, Jackson stood his ground, raised his pistol, and fired a shot, struck him in the head.
Jeez.
Then Jackson would carry around that bullet in his chest pocket, as well as another from a subsequent duel for the rest of his life.
If I remember
That's
correctly,
crazy.
he was shot in the leg too.
Was shot in the leg was the other one?
I'm pretty
Is
sure.
that the one from the other duel?
I do not know for sure, but I think.
Man, I know there's a lot about Jackson.
Yeah.
He won the popular vote for president 3 times. 56% of the popular vote in 1828. Didn't win a majority in 1824.
But he still won.
But he still won.
Oh, now you're getting unsure of your facts now.
No, I'm reading. Yeah,
I know you're reading, but you're still unsure about it.
No, yeah, I absolutely am. So he was the target of the first attempted assassination of a president. He was leaving the U.S. Capitol January 30th of 1835, following a memorial service for a congressman. A deranged house painter named Richard Lawrence fired a pistol at the president from just feet away.
It misfired, if I remember correctly.
The gun misfired.
And then he pulled out a second one, and it also misfired.
He did. That is awesome, dude. You know that. I love it.
Yeah, Old Hickory survived.
Old Hickory survived. Yeah. A subsequent investigation found the pistols to be in perfect working order. Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Wow.
they both misfired, but they worked perfectly.
It says the odds of both guns misfiring were 125,000 to 1.
And they both happened. It's
That
so
is
insane.
crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah,
So,
and I knew that.
you did know that. That is awesome.
It's really weird. This is your subject, Dad, not mine.
No, I love it that you know it. That's awesome. Oh, man.
You gotta learn some of these stuff, gosh.
Okay, I got one more story. I think we could do stories. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on history. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here. I love this stuff anyway.
I like history too.
Yeah, no, you seem like it. Yeah, you're having a blast over there.
Yeah.
It's time of letting y'all do your thing, you know.
I'm
getting
gonna tell
educated.
the story. So, I believe this to be the story that when we were standing in front of the White House, our guide told us, and it was a really crazy story. And a very interesting one, right? So again, we're talking the days when there's no gates in front of the White House. You can just walk up to the White House. They would throw little get-togethers, and people
Parties,
from the area
just
would
literally
come and they would hang out.
Yeah.
Right? So we're talking
if I remember
1800s.
If I remember correctly, there was a president that got just a bunch of cheese. It might have been Andrew Jackson, but I think it was either the president before him or after him. They just got a lot of cheese, and then it was kind of rotting up the actual White House.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It stunk up. Oh, I remember that story. Yeah, because he liked blue cheese or something, and then it was stinking up the whole White House.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories.
There's a lot of stories. It's been there for a long time, right? And
Yeah.
it's, it's just, it's our nation's capital. It's just, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. So,
You're more quiet
well,
than usual.
it's
Just
not the
start
actual
making more
Capitol
jokes.
building.
Come on.
Okay, so we're talking about February 27th, 1859. It's broad daylight. Congressman Daniel Sickles shot and kills Philip Barton Key, the U.S. president for the District of Columbia and the son of Francis Scott Key. Francis Scott Key was the composer of the Star-Spangled Banner.
Yeah.
Sickles suspected that Key was having an affair with Sickles' wife. Then the criminal court judge Thomas Crawford instructed the jury on the defense of temporary insanity, that Sickles could not have been held criminally responsible if, because of a mental impairment, he was incapable of governing himself in accordance with law or was unaware of the wrongfulness of his conduct.
So that's where all that started.
This is the first case, even if that impairment was only temporary. So this is temporary insanity, right? So
Jesus, you're
the
getting
jury
articles,
acquitted Sickles, after 70 minutes of deliberation, it was the first successful use of temporary insanity defense in American history. Sickles' team of lawyers included Edwin Stanton, later President Lincoln's Secretary of War during the Civil War. Yeah. So this is just kind of crazy. And if I remember correctly, he was having the affair with him. And then with the gal. And then, yeah, it was like they would call and they could hear and yell at each other from across the, over the White House lawn, because they lived on opposite sides of the White House lawn. If I remember correctly, what our guide was telling us was that they would call him to the White House, and then he would see him going, so that Mr. Key would run across over, and then he would have an affair with the wife, and then he would see him come back, so then he would leave before he came back. And then but in broad daylight there's this murder. And it doesn't say here where it took place. Let's see if I can find the daughter. So it was he was the son of Francis Scott Key, the great nephew of Philip Barton Key, also known as the Chief Justice, the nephew of Chief Justice Roger Taney. Married Ellen Swan. He was appointed to his father's former position in the United States Army by President Pierce in 1853. Sometime in the spring of 1858, Teresa Sickles began having an affair with Key. Dan Sickles, though a serial adulterer himself, had accused his much younger wife of adultery several times during their 5-year marriage. She always denied it, but he received a poison pen letter. It's a letter or note containing unpleasant, abusive or malicious statements or accusations about the recipient. It's usually sent anonymously, informing him that his wife was having an affair with Key. He confronted his wife, who confessed to the affair. He then made his wife write out her confession on a paper. Sickles saw Key sitting on a park bench outside the Sickles home on February 27th, signaling to Teresa, and then he confronts him. Sickles rushed outside into Lafayette Square, cried, "Key, you scoundrel, you have dishonored my home, you must die." With the pistol ready, he repeatedly shot the unarmed Key. That's crazy.
Well, don't stick your diddly in places that don't belong. Might get shot.
Might get shot. Yes. Especially in the 1850s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About it back then.
Back then, there's a little bit of a different story about things. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Well, back then, you steal a horse, you get hung right there in the street.
Right there in the street, and they make a thing. They're like, "Oh, hey, are you going to the hanging this afternoon?" Yeah. Like, who was it today? It was old Willie. You remember Willie? He stole a horse of John's. Yeah. Like, oh my God, that's right. I couldn't even remember that.
Nowadays, people have conniptions over a freaking tweet.
I know. Yeah, it's getting to be crazy.
Yeah.
And it's getting to be that time. And it's getting to be that time of elections and all of the political correctiveness and the political stuff coming up. And we're already starting to see, like the videos coming out again. And they're starting to get everybody riled up. So just recognize it. I wish that we'd see more people recognize instead of just falling into the hands of the big media people that are pushing all these agendas, and it's getting ready to be an election year, and this is the year off. So this is the preparation for next year. So this is when they're going to do everything in their power to rile up both sides of the parties, so then that way they can try to turn a bunch of stuff up. It's been happening since way back then. I mean, look, we broke out into a war in 1860s over slavery. Well, more than just slavery, but it was the North versus the South, and it was the differences in opinions, and it was a lot of people angry, and they're still doing it today. And they're doing it with things that I don't feel most people really truly think about on a day-to-day because it's not as big of an issue as what the agenda shows that they think it is. And then they push these agendas.
That's what they
That's
want.
what they're doing. Yeah. And they're pushing it harder and harder. You know, in the 90s, there was the two parties of people. And there was, if you didn't like what the other party was doing, you talked a little bit of trash about it. But most of the time, the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing, and that's just kind of the way that it was, right? There were a few people that really, really, really followed it. But for the most part, it wasn't as big of a thing. Then the 2000s hit, and then it started getting a little bit more. And then it just, now it's so big. It's so big that they can say whatever they want, they can do whatever they want, but they're just pushing agendas. And I just wish more people would get off the bandwagons of either side and realize that they're trying to manipulate us and not fall for all the manipulation. So I hope that we don't see, but it's been the last 3 elections have happened on or after riots. Because they've got us so crazy by the time that the election period comes around. But then everybody knows everything dies off. And then by the time that person goes into office, whichever party it is, right? Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden we don't hear nothing. And then we hear a little bit of kickback stuff when it comes into the second year, the midterm elections, right? We have a little bit, but not as much. They don't want to get us as riled up. Mm-hmm. But now it's coming around. Okay? So I'm calling it right now. This year, 2023, they are going to be putting out as many videos as they can to rile people up on both sides of the coin. And then next year is when they want to see all of the towns burning again because it makes people go to the polls and vote. Mm-hmm. And that's what they want. And it's ridiculous to see our communities burning over big news media pushing all of these agendas that all these freaking politicians are pushing out anymore. And it's all political jargon and it's bullshit. And it's, all right, I'm going to get off my soapbox, but it's pissing me off. I'm sick and tired of watching the same thing and people are still falling for it. And it is.
Just now calming down from the last one.
Right.
Well, most of us are, as normal people.
Right.
And yeah, they're going to start stirring it back up.
They are. And that's what they're going to do. And then they let you have the 3 years of peace, and then they're going to start riling you. And again, it's not even a full 3 years because they kind of halfway do it at midterm elections, but they're getting ready now. And they're going to find everything that they can. And the big news only pushes the big news' agenda. Both sides of the coin.
They're going to do... well... You know what the right's going to do. The right's going to try to make the left look bad, make Trump look good. The left's going to try to make cops look bad, try to make Trump look bad. They're going to do as much as they can. They're going
But they do as much as they can to rile up the people on both sides of the coin, and that's what I'm saying. And that's what I hope people are finally tired of looking at it and just start thinking for themselves. And I say turn off big news. Yeah. I love turning into
I don't watch the news ever.
No, I turn into my local news. It's 30 minutes. They give me all the news that I need.
Yeah, the weather, traffic.
Right.
Somebody's opening up a new store.
They give me the big story that I need, and then they give me my local news that I need. Mm-hmm. When you're talking 24-hour news places that they're going for ratings. They're fighting for ratings just like Yellowstone is fighting for ratings, right? Mm-hmm. I tune into Yellowstone, but these people at all of these major news channels, they need people tuning in. That's how they make money off of ads. So it's all money generated, right? Mm-hmm. But they're the ones that hold the cards. So then they're trying to tailor it to the certain demographic of people that they're looking for, whether it be Democrats or Republicans. That's why you have the different news stations that are 24 hours. As soon as they started this 24-hour thing, they've never, in the 90s when they didn't do 24 hours, it wasn't as bad. Now they do 24 hours. They're always looking for something to fill. So it's just the first person to get it there. With social media, with internet, they'll take false information as long as it's the first information out there because they want to be the first ones to break the news. And that's even what they advertise on all their big stuff. Be there with us, the first people to bring it to you. I don't care who brings it to me first. I bring it who cares. I care who brings it to me right.
Yeah. I'll bring it. Who cares?
I know. I'm getting riled up.
We said no politics.
We said no politics, and I'm trying not to go. I'm not trying to go political. I'm trying not to go political on either side of the coin because that's not where I'm at. But my problem is, I like correct information if we're going to bring it out. Okay. I'm a fact finder, and that's what I bring.
Yeah.
Bring me facts if you're telling it to me as a fact. If you're like, oh, we
give
don't
us
really
the
know
shit.
what's going on. Like, if you're going to tell me a story that I know is about to be bullshit, like Jean-Claude Van Damme getting into a fight in Kansas. He got into a real fight, but I don't remember where the fuck was that. Right? So I said that he was in Kansas. I wasn't bringing facts, and we pointed that out. Right? So if you're just telling me a story, tell me a story. I love a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're bringing it to me like it's some fact, and I'm supposed to believe every word out of your lying mouth, then don't tell me falsehoods every other freaking minute. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Don't call it the news then. Call it story time.
Right. Absolutely.
Story time with this
Right. With
random news
whichever
reporter.
side of the coin it is,
I hate-
because it's both.
I hate the View. I'd just like to
Right.
point that out there.
Right. So this is the opposite
And
of that
I'd
because
like to
I'm
say
not
that I
calling-
voted for Obama and Trump, and so I'm pretty neutral on it. Like I just want whoever's going to do right, and I cannot stand the View. They're a bunch of gawking bitches. Brag. I hate them. I hate all of them. I hope they stub their toe every day on the way to work.
Well,
Sorry.
Rosie O'Donnell should be living in Canada because she was supposed to move the second that Trump got elected.
that dude
but-
was supposed to move as soon as he said he was going to move. That fucking Rosie O'Donnell. That
Right.
motherfucker. And
All right.
him and
Nope.
his best bud, Whoopi Goldberg. They're both
Oh yes.
they're both
Whoopi-
scissor flicking each other's dicks. Sorry, Grandma.
I did not mean to go any of this with any of this. I was being very center of the road.
Not
All right.
me. Sorry.
All right. Thank you guys. We haven't gone through all our Patreons. Our
Sure,
Patreons.
Stuff gets riled up now. We want to shut it down.
We're shutting this down. Yeah, because I was staying middle of the
I know.
road.
I'm sorry. I'm still middle. I'm all the way middle. I just
I know.
don't like the
I
View.
know. You were talking about a specific
The
show.
View's not middle.
They're not. No. And they are. It's well. I know.
Shocking whores.
Anyways, Mike Garcia, thank you.
Dirty prostitutes.
Oh, Grandma, thank you. Patreon.
Syphilis having damn bitches. I don't know. Too mad to even think.
And none of that is derogatory. What he's saying, it's
Nothing
not.
at all.
It's
Nothing.
it's
If you watch it, good for you, retard.
all right.
All right, I'm done. Sorry.
He's
My
got
adrenaline's
to go
going. I'm
extreme.
so mad
That's where
about
he's
the
at.
View.
Also, Phelps Harvest Patreon. Thank you guys. Go check them out on Facebook at Phelps Harvest. They're on Facebook.
Well, yeah, you said that already.
No, I didn't. Did I?
They're on Facebook. Check them out there on Facebook.
I know. Yeah, now you got me flustered. Yeah.
What else we got? B. John's Gold Rush Jerky.
Yeah.
Best meat.
Except they're not
check them out.
sponsoring. They're not sponsoring this particular episode.
Oh.
Yeah,
oh,
because
it's
we
an
already
episode
set
thing.
off.
Oh, well
Yeah.
then I take that back.
Yeah.
Any and all things said about whatever place that was, whatever they sell. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, but their other Phelps Harvest. Yeah, they did. Yeah, go
I
check
just wanna-
that out.
Yeah, we like those guys.
Oh, awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I got nothing else. Any of you guys got anything else?
Fuck the View.
Anyway.
Joy
all right.
Behar is a whore. Sorry,
All right.
Grandma. Set
Thank
down.
you guys. Tune in next week or 2 weeks. We're bouncing around now, so could be 2 weeks.
Bouncing around like the View's bitches fucking opinions.
All right. Thank you guys.